when I apply for an application, my name is Dean Marr. I'm probably considered more than somebody who has a stereotypical name that somebody has associated with with another culture, what have you. And even in the gay community, you hear people saying, "Oh, I'm not into Asian guys. I'm not into black guys," or "I'm into," and you've heard it too. It's like even in the gay community, and they say, "Why aren't you into Asian guys?" It's like this blanketed. It is racism. It really is. If you say you're not into Asian guys, sorry, but it is a bit racism. I shouldn't say a bit. It is. It just is systemic, that sort of stuff. But one thing that I think we need to acknowledge as gay people is, and you and I especially, is that the generation before us was decimated. So during AIDS in the 80s, the generation before us has been pretty much decimated, wiped out. So when we came onto the scene, who were our mentors? Like if AIDS wasn't an issue, you'd probably have a lot of black mentors. I'd probably have a lot of older guys who would teach me the way, say, don't do this, don't do that. You'd see how, but when we came into the scene, it was a free-for-all. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just like party central, and we were trying to find our own way. And I think without that, I guess that father figure-ish, it's a weird term, but that generation before us, we didn't have guidance or what have you. But now you see the generations, after us. Look, they have rights. They go to school. They date. They're openly dating in high school. They see our example, and we help them, whether directly or indirectly, show them that it's okay to be like us. We fought for you, but we didn't have that, so it makes it even more difficult for us. That's how I feel.
Okay, so I can make sure we tie it all in. How do you identify?
I identify myself as a gay man. I really just identify myself as Dean. I take a different look on everything. So just so everybody knows, I am a vegan. For me, every life, is equal, whether you're a cat or a dog or a person or a cow. So that throws people off a bit. But when I look at that, I think every life is so precious because they say, there are as many suns in this universe. There's more suns in this universe than there are, grains of sand on this earth. So the fact that we're all alive, we just need to respect all life. Every life is precious. I say on my Facebook page, just be kind to people. Be kind to all living things. So that's my motto. I don't judge. I judge people by their behaviors. I don't judge people by any other criteria. So I don't care what you look like on the inside or outside. As long as you're kind, I'll really like you. If you're an a-hole, I'm not going to like you.
Now, when you said that you were a vegan, I'm gonna be honest. For years, I was a vegetarian. A lot of people didn't know that, but when I got sick, I had my stroke. The doctors told me that I had a hemoglobin problem. I was becoming anemic, and if I didn't change and start eating meat, I was gonna die. That's what they told me. They said because everything was going in the wrong direction. So. But I was always wondering why I was always so tired and this and that. And then because I never could stand the smell of meat. So, but once I start killing it with hot sauce and barbecue sauce.
For me, about being veganism, it's very important that you read labels. You need to make sure you're getting all your nutrition. And now it's so different. Like a vegan 5 years ago, it was difficult. A vegan now, I can find anything I want with the nutritional value with one. So it's easier now, but it's like anything. You need to read the labels. You need to make sure you're getting your nutrition. You can't just start eating things and not be aware of it. Especially being a vegan, because you're making a dietary change that affects your life. You need to exactly know what's going in and make sure everything is balanced.
Oh, okay. Now, let's go back to the protest. Now, not that, I hate saying from a white point of view, because but this is what people want to hear.
No, you should say it. You should say white point of view. The Western society is built on white, heterosexual Christianity. Let's be honest. Let's call it like it is.
That's true.
If you don't fit into all three, you're not part of the group. And then all these people who don't agree with it, it doesn't matter. If you're not part of the three group, there's people out there who don't like you. They might not say it now. It might come out later, but you're part of that group they don't like. I'm
Oh,
part of the group they don't like because I'm the gay one.
oh. Now,
But I physically fit in for the other slots. But once you find I'm a gay, you'll see prejudice come towards me. You're visible. So yeah, they don't like people don't like you because you're black. Then they find out you're gay. It's like tick tick tick. So
mhm.
it is a white heterosexual Christian society, the Western world has been built on, and they don't want to change it because it works so well for that group.
Okay. Now, what do you think that, like you said, Western society thinks of the protests? Do you really think that they feel that this will have an impact? Do you think they're scared that this will bring change?
I'm not sure they really are scared. Here's my example. When you go on Facebook or any other social media, you will see people post things and you'll see, angry faces and tear emojis, but you cannot change the world through social media. You need to actually, as Bill Clinton once said, you need to suit up and, join the fight. So when you see
Mhm.
people like Black Lives Matter, they're the ones who suited up. So yes, they do social media, but they're the ones who are actually demanding change, doing the marching, going to the decision makers. They're the ones who are making this change. They will do it because they have made a change. They just haven't. It hasn't reached the level where it needs to be changed even more. But they're getting there. Those are the people. When you get out and you start, when your boots physically hit the ground, that's when you start making the change. You can't do it through Facebook. You can't do it through Twitter. You need to get out there and be visible. People need to hear you. It's uncomfortable for people, but you know something? When is change ever comfortable for people?
Okay.
Look what we did as gay people.
Hmm.
You need
Now,
you need to ruffle feathers.
that that's a
Ruffle a
good
lot of
point.
them.
That you're right. Now, do you feel as do you feel or do you think Western society feels like they're unsafe? Like this is not a good thing as far as their safety goes.
I think people feel safe. I think media and groups who want to agitate, and they're the ones who are throwing out the unsafe type of thing. Perfect example when you watch on the news, especially some of these right-wing media people, and you hear about them talking about we need to protect the shops. Like
Hmm.
people's lives are being killed. Like somebody died from having something on his neck for 8 minutes. You know, the Gap can put up a new window in their store. You can't bring back a person who was just killed. So
Hmm.
that's the story that some right wing media are putting out there. You just need to ignore. You need to keep going on. You need to ruffle the feathers. You need to get people upset because that's how change is made. And yes, they are going to make changes because people are just so fed up. When you look at this pandemic is a changing point, I believe, because right now people have lost their jobs. They've lost hope. And when you have people who've lost hope and they're being oppressed and the system isn't working for them, it's
Hmm.
like, enough is enough. What do you have to lose? Right now, you're going to go out there and you're going to fight. You're going to say, you're going to listen to me. Sorry, it's
Hmm.
upset. The people who are breaking the windows, those people are not part of the fight. But something, you can deal with them on your own time because we're not stopping with our protests. We're going to make you hear us. And that's what's happening now, I believe. And I think things are going to change.
Okay. Now, do you see now how do you figure the coronavirus and the protests? Do you think the coronavirus was more important than the protest?
The coronavirus, I don't. This is how I look at it. If it was coming from me, this is how I would look at it. The coronavirus is something to be concerned about. But if I'm concerned that I can be killed just going to the store
Hmm.
or going to work or meeting my friends or going for a jog in the park, it's perspective. I think the actual protests are more important at this time. They really are. We cannot. We need to uplift the society, but we can do it safely when people wear masks and so forth. But there
Hmm.
comes a point where you can't use that as an example because the virus is gonna be taken care of. We're gonna find a vaccine, but we need to stay safe while we're doing it. but we cannot keep doing generation systematic racism towards people. We need to fight back for that. But please, wear a mask, try to keep a distance, because the virus is still out there, it's still killing people. But I guess when people are looking at that, it's like, I can't just sit back anymore. I need to get out there. I need to make my voice heard. That's what I'm seeing with this.
You know what I like though, Dean? I like the fact that, back in the 50s and 60s when Martin Luther King and all the civil rights people were trying to get their voices heard, there was a lot more violence. We're not seeing as much violence now. I think because
from the protesters and the demonstrators.
From the demonstrators, I think because society in general understands each culture in a sense, because we deal with each other, whether we're dealing with each other working, we're interacting, we're even marrying, we're hooking up. We have some sense of what the truth really is about a certain race. Now,
and the processes are peaceful. It's only the crackdown, that's when the violence starts. Of course, people are going to react when people are coming at them with, shields and batons and tear gas. Of course, you're going to fight back and react. That's just natural. You're not just going to take it. But up to those points, most of these protests are very peaceful, and they're just asking to be heard.
Now, do you think in general, because we haven't had the kind of protests that they've had in the U.S. in a volume of that magnitude, because of course we're a smaller population. But do you think most Canadians, I would say voting Canadians, because you were a politician one time and you felt that you maybe have a voice in Parliament. Do you feel that voting Canadians care enough about this racism issue?
I think Canadians do, but I don't think Canadians understand how actually deep it is, because we've seen time and time again where somebody from a marginalized community is shot or killed, and it's usually by police, and it comes across saying, it was self-defense and so forth. But there was never that second look to find out, was it really self-defense, or was it just, things that went really bad from the police ends? And I think we need to review that, because I think a lot of Canadians are starting to realize that, we have issues here, but we're not just being told about them. In the US, they have body cams, cell phone footage all the time. There's so many people, so they're catching things. And I think we need to actually take a relook at everything that's happened, because I think a lot of the things that have happened here, we need to take a second look, because I think a lot of the things that happened to certain marginalized communities was not handled in the correct way. I think that the police need to be more accountable for what happened.
Now that you said that, I'm trying to word this properly, because I asked in another conversation of mine, I wanted people to understand that this was not coming from a racist point in my mind. This is coming from fact. Each year, every time we vote, I vote. But I noticed that Toronto has a very high 5.7 million people in this city or more, but they don't vote. What is happening with the census? Why doesn't the census work? Why don't the government know who's living even in these new buildings going up? Nobody seems to know who's living here. Isn't that what the census is for?
The census usually gives you an idea of the community, so it can get resources for it. That's a quick question, because I don't know the answer. I think that's something that we really need to look at. I think we really need to get people to vote, because here's a perfect example of what's happening in the US. They're catering to the people who will get them into power. So when people don't vote, they cater to the ones who are going to get them into power. But I think things are changing. I think people are starting to realize that, something, it's going to get worse if you don't get out and make your voice heard. And
Okay.
I think things are
That
changing.
Okay, that was the road I was going, because I'm trying to tie it all in together. I want to understand the voting. I want to understand the racism. I want to just understand the mindset of Canadians, people that really value their lives in a sense of voting, working, taking charge of their lives, contributing, and just the mere fact that they're Canadians or Americans or whoever they are around the world, trying to just be part of where they come from, and
Here's
yet
one thing.
still embracing others.
One thing that I think that we really need to do, it's going to change everything, is that we need to start supporting people from marginalized communities, people from different backgrounds, to get them into the political process. Because honestly, I'll be honest with you. I have the NDP, the Liberals, the Greens. It's pretty white. I'll get to be honest.
Okay.
But when you see such good community leaders out there, and something, we simply can't just wait for them to say, I want to do that. We need to start approaching people in the community, say, you're really a good leader. You should consider running. Let us help you. We'll help you build up a team. You're such a great leader, for this community. Why don't you make it on a larger level? So we need to encourage people to actually come forward who actually are great leaders, and so that we will have a more diverse, more representational group of people who are being elected and running.
It seems that even our community, everybody, we have all these programs that seem to band-aid the issue, and then when it gets hot, the band-aid falls off.
I know. It's true.
And it happens a lot here. And for me, just being part of our community, and how hard I've worked in this community and got beat up many times.
Exactly.
But
you're literally damned if you don't, damned if you do.
There you go.
But you need to do it.
Yeah. You gotta toil on. I know. I'm lucky now. I don't have to do too much, but I have to. My mother say, "You better do something."
Well, you are doing something. You're raising awareness through this medium, and it's important. We just need to make sure that when it comes election time, instead of just waiting for someone to step up, or like a group of people saying, "Oh, you have a good chance of winning," go out, and if we see, a prominent Black person who's a really community leader, go up to them and say, something. Have you ever thought of it? And if they say no, say, well, how about what you think about it? Meet some people. We'll raise money for you. Don't worry. We'll get you out there, because we need your leadership in the community. Not because you're Black, because you're just an amazing leader, but you need to be representative of your community. We need to have a representative of everybody. It can't. If you look at Toronto City Council, it's pretty white.
Now, for me, not that I'm picking this person out to pick on this person, but for me, I find that our community was striving. I mean, when you think about it, Dean, 20 years, 25 years ago, which is a short period of time, in a sense, even though we're older now.
Our prime, 25 years ago.
And we were something else. But
I know. Botox keeps us looking good.
Thank God. Ooh, Lord, that 6 zeros coming soon. But anyway, now a few of the politicians were from the LGBT pronoun two-spirited community. I'm trying to say it all because somebody corrected me, like I said the other day. I forgot something, and I was like, okay, and here comes an argument. But like I said, a few of the people that were in our community were politicians, and some are now politicians in a sense. Now, there's one particular person that was supposed to be looking after our community, or this is her ward.
Okay.
And
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. So I want to know, we have done so much for her, from even when she owned Timothy's. I used to perform for her when she had her photography and museum studios, and did a lot of things for her. And she was good to me, I must say. But she doesn't seem to be able to accomplish nothing on that city council for our community?
Here's my answer to
Is
this.
it that these people have gotten so rich and they just don't care about the community anymore? Because it's not, because to be honest, our community is slowly disappearing. Church Street, the village, is slowly, well, but we consider it dead.
You know what
We
we need?
consider the community here dead. So it's not like it's making money anymore like it used to.
It's not.
Like
They're
it's not
closing
like,
down.
yeah, it's not like we have a cause. It's not even like we have a reason to even go on Church Street. So many bad things have happened there now. It's like an embarrassment to even walk down it. Before, we used to be grand and carrying on and acting all silly and all that. And it used to be
Sometimes it's hard to even be gay on Church Street now.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. What do you think needs to be done? I'm not going to say bring the village back because that's not going to happen. But where are the young people to go? What are they to do? These kids are marching in the street now for racism and equal rights and all this stuff. What's going to happen now? We're skipping the month of Pride. So, children have an attention span. Tomorrow, they can forget about all of this and be back on social media taking selfies and trying to hook up.
I do have a solution. I've always believed this. I've said it before. Term limits. How can, an activist from any other community come in and even make a difference if the sitting councilor has been there 10, 15 years? They know all the donors. People are comfortable with them because they know they're going to predict. But how can you make change when these people just refuse to move on? It's like It's like the car's been sitting idle for I don't know how long. We need to move them up, but they won't go. And they talk about, we need a more diverse council. Then just go so we can get people in who want to run, who can be more diverse. But it's like all whitey then. They're going to sit there and they're going to do their own. I love the term all whitey then. It's already then. But they won't move. So how can we get, young members from the Black community, more people from the Asian community, trans community, Indigenous community? How can we get them into government when the old time stock just will not get out? It's like, you've done your bit, just go on, move aside. Let other people come in, let them move up to the ranks, let them bring in their own individual ideas and solutions. Can you imagine if like a new group of like 20, 30-year-olds were elected to city council and they had all these great ideas and they could solve the problems, and all the old guard that's been there for like 10, 20 years have just moved along and went on. You go into an election for public service. Do your bit and then move on and let somebody else bring in their ideas. There's no new ideas coming in because they're all refusing to go.
Now, I'm gonna have just a couple more questions, then we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
Now, where do you see the future for the village itself? And how do you think the protest and the protest about racism, now that this is brought attention to a big problem within our community, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, right now the village is virtual. I don't even think there is a physical village anymore. Slapping a rainbow flag on a window is not a village anymore. There really is nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hang out so much anymore. I don't feel like there's a community. We're a virtual community right now. We've lost that basic need or want to connect because we can do it virtually. We can know everything about everybody, and then we can just go meet them if we want to. But I don't think that the politicians are taking the money that's coming into the city from all these developments and helping us set up spaces where we can meet, where we can congregate, where we can empower people within our community, like the Indigenous people, the Black community, the Asian community, the Latina community. We're not even doing that anymore. Like it's all virtual now. We need to actually start investing back into the community where people can come and feel safe. I feel safe and express themselves and have their ideas acted upon, because I don't see that happening anymore. My God, I would love it if you ran for politics.
Oh, thank you, Dean, for coming on. It's always a great pleasure to talk to you, and you're such a cute boy, so it makes it easy for me to talk to you. cute man, and he makes it easy for me to talk to you. And I want to just say thank you so much today for enlightening me about your perspective on the whole thing that's going on. You really cleared up a lot of things that, for me and maybe a lot of people, hopefully will learn from our conversation here today and understand that everybody has a different view about how to improve things and where we should go. And hopefully at the end of the day, people will just do the right thing by
And get
each
out
other.
there. Get
Yeah.
out there and make yourself seen and heard. Remember that I think he was like 16 years old in the States. He's organized a march and the police chief came out with
Mhm.
him. That's a
Yeah.
leader. That young man's a leader. If
Yeah.
you're young, whatever community you come from and you want to be heard, go out and make something happen. People will join you. People will follow leadership. You just need to go out there and step up and do it. And if anybody's out there doing it, you can do it. Whether you're Black, Indigenous, whichever community you're from, just go out and say you want to bring people together and people will follow. And we need leaderships like you if you're watching.
In other words, just do something.
Do it.
Do it.
Don't
All right.
hesitate. Do it.
Thank you, Dean, for being on my show today. Ladies and gentlemen, I had Mr. Dean Marr on my show today, a great friend of mine. He ran for city council in 2010. He's an animal activist, and he's just a good guy all around. And he gave us his input on how he feels about what's happening in the LGBT pronoun two-spirited community and the protests and the march. And we want to say thank you, Dean.
And you're all beautiful people, and just be kind to people.
Be kind to people, and remember, people, wear your masks for the corona.
Exactly. Social distance.
And just be kind to each other. And you know what? Until next time on the Stephanie Stevens Show, thank you, Dean.
Love you. Love all of you. Thank you for joining us.
Over and out, mister. Have a great week.